What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 100 of my Tracksuit to the Top series here with Lewis FC. And this is different. You can see my face. I can't see your faces, though. That would be weird. Hopefully you are all decent. I'm excited for this. This is something that's been long overdue. I was thinking about how to make episode 100 a little bit different. I finally got a webcam sorted for when I stream. Unfortunately, I don't have internet good enough for streaming now, so good investment, Jack. But we can put it to use here. So, we're doing episode 100. It's 100% live. I've actually got a stop clock going here. 100 minutes. 100 minutes. And we're going to have By the Seaside play when the timer is up. Anyway, hopefully you are decent. I've now said that 3 times. If you're not decent, at this point you are crying into your hands like, Jack, I'm not decent. I'm no more decent than I was 5 minutes ago. And for that, I'm sorry. Anyway, well, this has got off to an interesting start, hasn't it? Today, 100-minute episode. We're going to be taking on a variety of teams. I decided just to go straight from the start of the season. There isn't really a set amount of games I'm going to play here. We're just going to play until the timer's up. I've never done an episode this long, so to aid me on my quest, I have got a laptop set up here. I asked you guys to give me some questions for a Q&A. I'm going to be going through them all during this episode. Not all of them, obviously, because that would be a bit excessive. And answering some of the more common and popular questions that people asked about this save, and also just general FM. So anyway, with that all said, and with that introduction, which is probably the longest introduction I've ever done, we're actually going to play some games. So we're going to start off with this game against Hull, just so you guys can see the league table. Nothing's happened since the first episode our end. However, our first game of the season is being played on the first Monday kind of night game of the year. And as a result, everyone else has played around us. So I'm hoping that we can get things off to a good start against Hull. In terms of team news, there isn't too much to tell you guys about. Michal is still on international duty. No idea when he's returning. I think he's on his way back from the Olympics. Some of you guys told me it was the Olympics. I think you're right. Elsewhere, Pedrera slowly getting back to full fitness. Of course, broke his leg. He's still at 36% condition, but he's actually now training with the team at least. And last but not least, Jeff, adequately nicknamed and appropriately nicknamed, I guess, Jeff. His name is only Jeff. He's a simple man. He's injured. He's got concussion. But he will be back soon, so that's good. So yeah, we're going to get straight into this game. In terms of how I'm setting up, I'm just going to be playing our 3-4-1-2 system. I'm kind of interested to see how this goes. One thing that I would like to just say before I get into this episode is a massive thank you for your ongoing support on this series. Ojeda has joined us on loan. But yeah, just a massive thank you. As you guys will know, it's been long overdue that I really get into a save on my channel. And I had the FC United and Manchester save back in FM 13, I believe it would have been. But since then, I've not had a save that I've really felt committed to. But I've really, really enjoyed this save throughout. It's been so different, perhaps, to what I'd normally expect to happen in terms of how successful we've been in this save. I've learned a lot going along the way. I just appreciate everyone who takes time to watch the videos. I know there's the lurkers, the people out there who don't comment, don't necessarily leave a like and just enjoy watching this series for what it is. Thank you to you guys. Thank you to everyone, really. The comments obviously fuel my, I guess, motivation to keep this series going. And without you guys, I don't think I would have got this far, because it's very easy with FM. If you play FM, you'll know that feeling to kind of get disheartened with a save and just get a little bit bored of it. But my interest is still peaked in this save despite our success last year. Hopefully we can get off to a good start this year. Lewis, of course, getting a hat-trick last episode, so his goal-scoring form is continuing. And we are on the attack here. Tita, Lewis, bang that in, my son. Let's go. Matthew Lewis getting his first goal of the season. It took 14 blooming minutes. Fantastic stuff. And he is off to a flyer. I'm happy. He got 70 goals last season, including the 3 international goals he got. And then 67 at club level. If he can just do half of that this episode, well, actually, no, half of that would be a little bit excessive, expecting 35 goals. But if he can get, half of those goals this season, I'm confident we can do very well, particularly with kind of new strikers in Jeff and also Tita, and also, I guess, Ojeda to an extent, who we signed from Barca on loan. But anyway, we're on the attack again here. We are starting off very sharply here. Hull, on this save, been a mid-table Premier League team for a little while, and the ball comes in. Lewis can't get that, but Juan Carlos Leon bringing the ball forward. Go on, my son. China, Lewis, what is happening? Who is this man? I think one of the most common questions in the Q&A, which I'll get onto in a bit, was about Matthew Lewis. Do I think I've had a better player than him? I don't think I have. I've numerically had players with better attributes, but his consistency is incredible. He seems to turn up for big matches. I've never had a player who scores, multiple goals a game like he does in big games and can kind of single-handedly, I guess, just turn a game on its head. I think last year he got 3 hat-tricks in the knockout stage, which is just unreal, as Kouakou makes an absolute howler and Hull actually pull the goal back there through Greco. And we moved down to 4th. That's tragic. I want to win the league. Last year, disappointing year. I should point out United actually played Liverpool, who finished 3rd in the first game of this season, and Manchester United won 1-0, which was a little bit disappointing. But anyway, we're on the attack here. Ball can't make its way in. Sonogo, core component of our team. Carlini, the centre-back, a little bit isolated there, but does play it back to Bakhtigali. And even with some of the better players in the world, whenever the ball goes back to your goalkeeper like that in FM, don't trust him. Kouakou, I completely believe in you, but it's just, I don't know, maybe I'm a pessimist. Maybe I just think bad things are going to happen. But if the ball goes back to the keeper, bad things are going to happen in FM. Maybe this is going to be the one time when I'm completely wrong. But anyway, we're on the attack here. Juan Carlos Leon, the long shot specialist, turns inside Tita. Lewis. Okay, well, he scored a hat-trick in 10 minutes from the first to the second goal and to the third goal. 23 minutes into the season. I don't know. A few people asked about Matthew Lewis. If you don't know the story of how he generated, which I do talk about on Twitter a little bit, and it's a question I've actually had a lot, so I'll talk about it now. But basically, on Regen Day, you get Regen to generate as free agents. If you don't know what Regen Day is, it's the day where you get all the players with the e-fit faces kind of appear. And it happens yearly in different nations on different days of the year. Matthew Lewis actually generated as a free agent Regen. And what this means is there's no facilities or youth, kind of head of youth development, which impacts his PA and CA. And so for the most part, those numbers are determined by the nation that he generates in. Now, because he generated in England, it meant that he had a small chance of having a high PA, as did any player who generated as a free agent. You may remember a few others, such as Ben Bacon, Craig Mullen, and Robinson, who also generated as kind of free agents. Now, the weird thing is, because they generate as free agents, these players have really, really low reputation in football, because obviously they've never played for a football team before. As a result, you can sign them when you're quite small teams. I do actually have another player who's a similar player to Lewis in terms of how he generated in my under-21s. I think his name's Breda. I think he plays for Norway, I want to say, who generated as a free agent. The way you can find these players is you can put age at most 16, contract status is expired or no contract or whatever, and I'll give you a list of all the 16-year-olds who aren't at clubs. The other way you can do this is age at most 16, sort by clubs, then the ones that don't have a club in the club column, of course, are free agents. But these players are completely random. Since Lewis generated in the very, very first season, I've kept my eye out for another player like him generating in another nation, and I've not seen one. And I don't know if that's because he's an absolute freak of nature in terms of how good his PA and CA were, and my expectations are too high, or if something in the January update impacted that. A few people asked, about how long I've been playing this save for and kind of how many hours I put in. Well, I started this save at the end of December, but the first episode that you guys saw on my channel actually went up in, I want to say it was the first day of the year, and I'm pretty sure that's correct. And it went up on January the 1st. So that happened during the first patch, and since the Christmas patch, which of course on the January update, which came out just midway through February, I've not seen any players as good as Lewis generate in the same way, so I don't know if that's been changed. Another question I got a lot, which I'll answer now because we're doing this Q&A thing at the same time, and a number of people asked this, but was basically how did I scout younger players and players when I was in the lower leagues? The truth is, before Christmas, you could trial absolutely any player, and if they accepted the offer of a trial, as Lewis scores again, they'd come to your club and you'd instantly get all their attributes loaded. So instead of scouting a player for 4 months as a lower league team to see all their attributes, you trialed them for a day. If they were crap, you just released them, but you still had all their attributes loaded from when they came and played for your team. Of course, in real life, if a player came on trial you knew nothing about prior, you're not suddenly going to know everything about them. And as a result, that was actually changed in the January update, which I just mentioned, whereby now if you trial a player, you don't instantly see all their attributes. But anyway, Matthew Lewis with 4 goals in this first game of the season. I'm not going to complain one little bit about that. Kouakou made a little mistake in goal, but since then he's had a pretty solid game, a 7.6 average rating for him. Hull was 7 shots on target. They had 2 clear-cut chances too. So Kouakou definitely made amends, I guess, for his Slight mistake last episode, but you can see, oh sorry, not last episode, but early in the game, you can see here we took all the chances that came our way. Really impressive performance. But yeah, hopefully that answers the questions about finding young players in the lower leagues and about Matthew Lewis and kind of how he came to be. I'll just quickly show you guys the other player who generated as a free agent who I mentioned. Usually these players aren't very good, and sometimes you won't see any of them generate in a regen kind of period. You know, they don't happen every year, but here we have Red Al here, who you can see 17 years old. We're his first club. He joined us on a free. He didn't generate at our team. The only reason I found this guy actually was because his agent offered him to me. But if you look at his coach report, he has the potential to be a world-class midfielder. And he's got a really good personality, which is another trait you'll sometimes see in these players. You guys might remember some of my other players, like, I'm trying to think who it would have been now. I think it was Craig Mullen, who had a really, really good personality. So that's kind of a little, I guess, explanation there. Hopefully that kind of clears things up. As you guys might notice as well, wearing my Lewis kit. If you don't know about this because you don't follow me on Twitter, make a Twitter account first and go follow me. But I got a Lewis kit, which is really cool. Unfortunately, I couldn't get Matthew Lewis's name on the back because they don't do names on the back of the shirts. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. But anyway, we hammered Hull in this first episode. That is a very good result. I'm going to keep calling these matches episodes because I'm used to doing one match an episode. But in reality, I'm sat here. How long's left of this timer? We've got a long little session left to go. I'm hoping my phone isn't going to interfere with my mic. Right, we are 11 minutes in according to the timer. I'm going to move that as far away from my microphone as I can. But yeah, not a bad start, you could say. Another thing that a few people ask me about, and I'll just show you this now while it's in my mind, because I'll forget otherwise, is game status. How long have you been playing this save? What people don't know is the fact that I often leave FM running. We've played 24 days. And 20 hours, which I've not played that long since kind of the end of December when I started playing this save. You can see obviously in-game editor allowed no, in-game editor used no, and you can also see the leagues loaded here, which is something people ask. But another question that I got, and I might try and find the person who asked about how long I play FM for if I can find it, but I'm going to miss it. If this was a normal Q&A video, I'd do all the fancy overlays where I have all the questions pop up and who asked them, but with this being a kind of 100-minute episode and me not necessarily going through I guess all the tweets in time, I don't want to really re-watch the video and then kind of line up and match up the questions. But I do appreciate everyone who's sending questions. Had lots of questions, over 100 I think in total across Twitter and YouTube, which I do of course appreciate. Anyway, this Icelandic guy's complaining. He's not very good, this guy. He's one of the regens who I took a punt on and turned out to be terrible. What do you want? He wants to go for first team football. A low move would be great for you. We'll do that. But anyway, I'm trying to think if there's any other questions that are kind of popping into my mind. Because this is why I asked you guys for questions, is because 100 minutes of talking is a long time of talking if I'm not giving interesting answers. Let's find a question real quick. Okay, so someone's asked here. This is by Jack Fremy on Twitter. He's actually asked... you always seem to find great regens on your series, for example Matthew Lewis. Any tips on how to find talented new gens? So I get this question a lot, and I've actually done a video on it for 2014 and 2013 FMs, but it's pretty much the same stuff. So as I mentioned, one of the things that you can do if you want to find players like Matthew Lewis, and as I said, there's no real guarantee of this because they're freak of natures really, but if we look at ages at most 16, then sort by club, you can see players here who, actually this guy got released by Kidsgrove, so that's probably not the best example, but you can see players here who may not have played at teams before. If we change this to 15, maybe we'll get some better examples. No, we won't, unfortunately for us. But one of the big ways that I find regens, and obviously I highly recommend you go and watch those videos that I did in the past because it's pretty much the same. But I love to go through the international teams, and that's how I found a few players like Sonogo. Of course, when I was in League 1 when I found this guy, I couldn't actually scout the Ivory Coast. So the way that I like to find my players is I'll look through all the national teams, so you can just search by age. If you want to insert the age column because you don't have it, it's just insert columns, general, and then age will be here. And I will literally go through quick flicking through every single national team. It's a chore. It's quite boring, it's not particularly quick, and if a player like this guy stands out to me, because he's 19 and playing a decent amount of games, even if he's playing for Libya, I'll just kind of send him a scout report, or if he is a player like this, I might take a punt on him if his wage demands are low. But as you can see here, this guy we can't even approach to sign, but his value is really low. And then once I've gone through every single national team, I should point out these quick flicks are done by continent. So I'll do kind of Africa, then I'll go to kind of South America like this, and we'll quick flick through all the national teams again, sorting by age. And then I'll find players that stand out to me. And that's how I found players like Jean-Carlos Martinez, actually. I was quick flicking through, and there was a 19-year-old right midfielder playing for Colombia. But once I've done all the main teams, then what I'll do is, it gets really exciting, I'll then go through all the under-23s teams. Or I might be like, oh, a 16-year-old centre-back playing for Ecuador. Right, well, maybe we should check him out. I'll look at the attributes I can see, which in this case is pretty limited. He doesn't really stand out, so I probably wouldn't even bother scouting him. But if there's a player that maybe stands out just a little bit, and might be worth having a punt on, I'll just send a scout report to them. Some of these players as well, you'll find they might not have professional deals signed with their team, so you might be able to approach to sign them. The other thing you can do is you can sort by value sometimes, and then flick through, because there'll be some players who are worth nothing. These are all virtual players, unfortunately, so they're not the best examples. But yeah, you can just find some absolute bargains this way, and then once I've done all the under-23 teams, I'll then switch to the under-20s teams and do the exact same again through all the continents. And to be honest, it can take a very long time to go through these, but you'll find players that you wouldn't otherwise find. And, well, if you're wondering how I find some of my best young players, this is how I do it. You can see players like this guy who I already have scouted. I've actually already kind of done it in this guy, and you can see that we have a little bit of knowledge about him. I can see his potential's okay. One thing that I kind of like about this year's game is the black stars in potential, which is kind of potential, if that makes sense. So when you see the black stars, that's what the scout thinks he could become, and with further scouting, they'll find out more. Whereas the gold stars are kind of a minimum potential that it could be. But anyway, Reitmeier, pleased with his progress. Hasn't he been injured? Well, that's good to see he's improving still, I guess. But yeah, who are we playing today? We're playing Bournemouth, who, of course, in real life are on the cusp of promotion to the Premier League, potentially. What have they been doing on this kind of game recently? So you can see they've been in the Premier League the last few years. I should actually point out I've had quite a nice little break from FM. You guys will know that I've been playing a bit of Eastside Hockey Manager. That's kind of been a nice change of pace. But I had like a big kind of batch of uploads kind of ready for the Lewis save all the way to the Champions League final. And so that meant I could kind of focus on other things and kind of do other things with my time. Anyway, Lewis player names in the Dream Team. Jeff was in the Olympic Games Dream Team subs. What a fantastic achievement for Jeff. In terms of this guy, Sigurdsson, or I don't know, what letter is that in the middle? It's like a D meets an O with a line through the top. I don't even know. Anyway, answers on a postcard. We have some Icelandic viewers somewhere. Shout out if you're one of them. But we're loaning him to FC United, who are one of my former teams, which is kind of nice. So that's decent. Speaking of FC United, you guys may notice if you're paying attention on my channel that we are closing in on 30,000 subscribers, which mental. My mind is blown. I've been kind of thinking of ways that we can celebrate that, I guess, and that I can do something. I'm currently in the process of kind of making a list of my all-time best 11 from all my saves. My plan is hopefully, by the time I hit 30,000 subscribers, although it's a massive task for me, to create a database featuring a team based in the Premier League with all the players from all my saves. Now, with the older series, I'll probably use something like Genie Scout to get all the hidden attributes and make them super accurate. With my Lewis series, I'm probably just going to make their attributes based off what they are at the moment, and then maybe give some of the ones who, at least according to my assistant star potential, the potential that they deserve. But my plan is basically to release a kind of database that will feature kind of an all-time 11. And then within that all-time 11, I'm going to have like a face pack set up with all the proper regen faces matched up, I guess. And then I'll be uploading that to the Steam Workshop so you guys can give it a go. But it's a massive task. It's still, I'm working on it very, very slowly. But my primary kind of, I guess, concern is to make sure I get videos up for you guys. But anyway, looking at it here, Jeff is back to full fitness, which is good news. In midfield, Michal is still travelling back from international duty, as he would play where Scholes is playing. Jade has joined us on loan. I'm interested to see how this guy does. He looks like he could be a pretty decent striker for us, just as a backup option. So we'll put him on the bench for this game. Elsewhere, I don't think there's too much more to tell you guys about. A few people asked, and I almost want to find the question about this, which was who my biggest flop is. Okay, so this was by Joe Tomlinson, and he said, worst transfer in the club's history? Roberto, question mark? Yes, can confirm, worst transfer, probably Roberto. I mean, he still has time to improve. You can see here he had a loan last year in Germany where he didn't really perform. If we look at his scout report, he has potential to be a leading Premier League player, but he's got inconsistent issues, he's injury prone. He's kind of just destined to fail, I kind of feel like. But anyway, let's get into this game. Roberto, you're not on the bench, I'm afraid, my son. And we'll just tell the players that I expect to win from them and that I have faith in them. So yeah, good start though in the first game of the season. I'm going to take a quick drink. But yeah, we'll see how we get on. I'm attempting to drink like a ninja, but this microphone that you can't see because it's just out of camera is the loudest thing in the world. But we'll see how we get on here. I'm interested to see how Jeff does. Jeff, number 10, the big man to watch really. Because he is our new signing. We signed him for £21 million and the exchange of, obviously, Kelechi Iheanacho. We basically traded away a legend in the hope of finding a new one. And Jeff has the real makings of a complete forward. Really excited to see what he can do with Lewis. As Lewis goes on a crazy run. Darlow with the save for them. Unfortunately for us, there wasn't the finish at the end of it for Lewis. But that was a really decent run. Jeff at the edge of the area. Can he work some magic? The keeper makes another save. I thought that was in. 2 minutes in, and we're already peppering the Bournemouth goal. This is kind of almost a local derby in some ways. I know Brighton is a lot closer to Lewis, but Bournemouth's not that far away, really. I guess neither's Brighton. They're kind of our local derbies, really, on this save now that we're in the Premier League. I'm not sure if Brighton are still in the Premier League. I know they were for a while. I'm pretty sure they are. But anyway, looking at the stats, we are absolutely demolishing Bournemouth. 70% possession, 14 shots. Hopefully we can work some more magic here. Anyway, we're on the attack. Scholes inside to China. Juan Carlos Leon cuts inside. Hit that, my son. Scores. What a goal that is. Take a bow. Juan Carlos Leon. First goal of the season for him. We move up to third. Crazily good goal. Nice little run. And we've been deserving that. We've been deserving that by a long way. So anyway, one more thing. I know I keep saying one more thing because there's kind of things that I need to remember to mention in the video at some point. Obviously, we have the face cam here in the bottom left. No, bottom right. It's my bottom left. So I think the gameplay is going to be up here, maybe. I might be wrong. If I'm pointing off the edge of your screen, I'm sorry. But I might be covering stuff with the face cam because I don't really know where to put a face cam when you're playing FM because there isn't that much kind of screen estate, really. If you guys like the face cam, I might run with it for some other episodes. It's a bit of a... Oh, okay, Matthew Lewis telling me to stop rambling. But yeah, I apologise if the face cam is in the way of something that I make reference to in FM. There's nowhere I can put it where it isn't going to get in the way of something. But anyway, Jeff, I think with the assist there, Matthew Lewis on his left foot just bangs it into the roof of the net. Take a bow, my son. And that is what we deserve. We are tearing apart Bournemouth this game. I think they're playing like a 4-5-1. So they were clearly trying to crowd out our midfield, but that just hasn't worked for them. So I'm just going to tell the players that I'm happy with how things are going. We're 2-0 up. We are playing by far and away the better of the two teams. China and Jeff with the assist. Juan Carlos Leon and Lewis with the goals. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing Jeff and Lewis build up a partnership. The decision in the summer to sell Haas and Suarez wasn't an easy one, even for the money they offered. In terms of, I think it was Real Madrid and I want to say PSG, but I might be wrong there. The money they offered was just too good to refuse, but I was worried that I might not be able to kind of get in an adequate replacement. Jeff, I'm hoping he's going to be that. He's a very good complete forward. He's only 23, the Belgium. And I'm intrigued to see how he gets on. As Juan Carlos Leon making another run, makes another goal for himself. He is loving it today. His second goal of the season. Just a massive gap emerges. I think it's Matthew Lewis who kind of drifts inside and pulls the left centre back with him. And that kind of just creates a massive channel for him to run into, as you can see here. And, well, Leon just runs into the space and then makes a beautiful kind of caressed shot into the far left-hand side. And we're 3-0 up, we're dominating again. Good start. I should point out a few of the games to start the season are fairly kind. We will probably get to the Manchester City game I've got to play, and that is a game I'm not looking forward to live coming, because Manchester City, bit of a bogey team. I think we lost to them once last year. I think the other game we beat them quite convincingly, so hopefully we can have some of that. But yeah, 70 minutes in, we'll make a few changes here. I've actually got a bit of a tickle in the back of my throat. I don't want to cough. I don't want to cough. That's the aim for this episode, is not to cough. I'm going to bring on a Jada and then take off Sonogo for Vladimir Orlando. I want to give Ojeda some time because he is going to be kind of our third choice striker along with Tita. And so it's important that he does get some time on the pitch, I guess, to stretch his legs, maybe build up some form, maybe get a few goals off the bench ideally, and put him in a position where if he does have to play for whatever reason, be it injuries or players getting tired, he's kind of capable, I guess, of stepping up to the occasion. But looks like he's not going to do that here. We are doing very, very well, and we are going to win this game 3-0 by the looks of it, unless Bournemouth going to get a very late consolation. But we defend well there, and good to get a clean sheet because, of course, we did invest very heavily, I guess, in our defence this year. Juan Carlos Leon, unsurprisingly, with a Man of the Match award. Really good result to kick off this episode. So anyway, let's continue. If you didn't notice then, I did cut because I coughed. I said I wasn't going to, and then I did it. So this episode is now going to be slightly shorter than 100 minutes because I suck, but we'll try and work it out. Jeff making his Lewis debut, gets the assist on his debut, which is good. Juan Carlos Leon is the cream of the crop. 100% tackles completed, 95 passes completed, and 2 goals. That's a ridiculous performance for a centre mid. Played very well there. Now we have the Swindon lot to look forward to, which is our next big game, but I don't think it's for a little while. How long have we got between this game and the next game? We've got a week, so I'm going to dig up a question here if I can find one, because this is why you guys submitted questions. So someone's asked here, James Moore, do you have any suggestions for a fun challenge save in FM15? I recently got top 4 with Stockport County and got bored. That was on Twitter. And someone else asked actually on YouTube if I can find it, which I'm now not going to find it. But they basically asked, how do you get into a save? You know, I've played loads of saves and I can't get more than a few seasons in. And I often get people go to me kind of, suggest a save that I should do. You know, what challenges are there around? And the thing that I always say to these people is that there really isn't an answer to your question that's definitely going to be something that you enjoy. I think the best advice I can give you when it comes to starting an FM save is to identify what it is you enjoy about playing Football Manager. If it's taking a small team to the top, do that as you save. If you enjoy developing young players, then, you know, maybe try something like Southampton, where they have good youth facilities. If you want to start slightly lower down but with good youth facilities, try Crew. You know, kind of establish, before you go looking for a team, go looking for what it is that you enjoy in a save, because there's no point in me telling you, do a Pentagon challenge because that'll be fun, if in reality you only like to manage in England or maybe in Europe. You know, you're not going to have that much enjoyment with it. At the same time, I wouldn't discourage people from kind of experimenting and maybe trying short-term saves with stuff that they've not tried before. So if you've never managed in kind of, I don't know, Asia before, maybe give it a try, maybe you'll fall in love with something new. But there isn't really an answer to what save should I play. There isn't a team that's perfect for everyone. It's about, as I said, just really identifying what do you like with FM. So for me, I like variety, if I'm honest. I just love Football Manager. So for me, I love starting with these lower league teams like Lewis and building my way up. Sometimes I like to start with a big team and just spend a load of money on players in real life. If you're that kind of person, Real Madrid or PSG is the team for you, of course. If you want to kind of build up from the very, very bottom, start out with a lower league database and start in the 19th tier or whatever databases kind of allow you to play in. But anyway, we've got Swindon coming up here. I believe that the Champions League group stage is to be made. That's going to be made very soon, so we will have some Champions League games this episode, which hopefully we can get some big teams to make things interesting. Orlando wants to discuss first team matters. He wants to chat because he wants more first team football. Not getting enough first team football. There's time to be played. Be patient. I'll give you a run of games. And hopefully he cheers up because he's moody. Anyway, Champions League draw. I would normally edit in the music here, but I suck when it comes to editing and stuff. So we are actually a first seed and we come out in Group A, so we're not going to have to sit around for too long in this draw. So teams that we could potentially get: PSG, Porto, Schalke, CSKA Moscow, who we played in the Super Cup. There's some fairly big teams there. Anyway, we'll see who the first team who are going to get put in our group are, and it is Genoa, I guess. I still don't know how to say that team's name. Genoa? We'll go with it. Man United and Bayern and Real Madrid all second seeds, and Barcelona. Okay, I did not realise that was a thing. We've just dodged lots of massive bullets and been given a very kind group, and now we've been given Ajax, which could be kinder, but I'm not too intimidated, I guess, by them. Ajax, perhaps a good example of a team with good youth facilities who challenge in Europe. If you want to kind of have a team that challenges in Europe and you like your youth development, Ajax is the team for you. So hopefully I answered that question okay for you guys who were asking about that. And the last team in our group is Red Bull Salzburg. So we've got them. I believe they're an Austrian team, flexing my connoisseur knowledge of European football right there. Totally don't know that because Salzburg's a titty. It's definitely not a titty. Well, this is awkward. A city in Austria. This is the bit where it now turns out it isn't a city at all and I'm talking crap. But anyway, some people have asked, and this is actually a few people. One person asked, and I'm not going to be able to find this now, but they asked, what tactics should you play when you're in League One? And a few people also asked, how do you go about developing tactics and stuff, and what's the best way to do it? Now, I actually did a video, I think it was for FM13, and it's one of my favourite videos, and it was one of the videos I did very early on in my time on YouTube, where I basically talked about all the different kind of ways that I go about building a tactic from scratch. And it went down really well. And the simplest way that I can break this down without doing a 20-minute rant about how to build a tactic is identify who your best players are, where your main team's overall strengths are, and play to them. And when you set up your team, play the players in the best roles you can. If you have a star advanced playmaker who's an incredible player going forward, and then you play him, I don't know, as a centre mid set to support, he's not going to perform for you there. You need players to play to their strengths. If you were to look through my team, if I just bring up my tactic here, players are picked specifically for the roles they're going to play. So Jeff here, who I signed, I knew I needed a complete forward. If we highlight the attributes for a complete forward on support, you can see he fits that role perfectly, which is why I signed him. When you first go to a team, look at your key players, look at what their attributes are, and try and work out what you think their best roles are. Some people ask about Matthew Lewis. How does Matthew Lewis play so well? I'll tell you why he plays so well despite not looking incredible. It's because he's pretty much the perfect poacher. The only thing that lets him down is his concentration. He's got great agility and acceleration and anticipation in the box. Decent first touch. As I said, concentration lets him down a little bit, but he's backed up by some really good physical stuff like strength. For a poacher is obviously useful because it means he's going to be able to jostle really with the defence. There'd be no point, for example, playing Matthew Lewis as a target man. Because if a player has him as a target man, that's suddenly his main weakness in his game exposed, which is his aerial ability, his passing, his teamwork, and his work rate. They're not strengths. If you compare how many attributes here are kind of yellow and, high and close to 20 when he's a target man compared to where he's a poacher, I kind of feel like it might become obvious. And that's something that I can't stress enough. It might seem really obvious to some people, but if you have your key players and you're not playing them in your best roles, you're not going to succeed. And the other thing that kind of goes with that is, if you've got two centre mids who are your best players and they're both incredible advanced playmakers, use a degree of common sense. There is no point in playing two advanced playmakers in centre mid because you're not going to have anyone defending. It seems painfully obvious to me, but I don't know, maybe people miss that. With developing tactics in Football Manager, it's all about getting a balance of not just team instructions, but looking at who your best players are, making sure they're playing to their best, but also looking at the roles and kind of thinking about it logically. Certain role pairings will work well together. For example, in my team, I'm using a box-to-box centre mid alongside a centre mid set to defend because I know that those two roles work well and they give enough room for the box-to-box midfielder to run forward whilst the centre mid defend will do his job. If I had that centre mid set to support duty instead of defend, I might be left a little bit exposed, particularly because I obviously play with three at the back. So hopefully that gives you maybe a little bit of food for thought, people who struggle with tactics. And another thing I'd say is less is more. Don't worry about player individual instructions for roles unless you have a player who it might benefit massively. So, for example, if you have a player who, I don't know, is a centre mid but has very good passing and vision and you're playing him as a centre mid set to defend, Maybe try direct passes. Maybe he'll be able to spot those big kind of balls that cut teams open single-handedly. And when it comes to team instructions, don't feel like every single button has to be red or green. You can leave some grey. They don't all have to be selected. In fact, I find the best tactics work where you've not got anything going on and it's quite simple. But as you can see, Matthew Lewis scored whilst I was rambling. Jeff with the assist, which is pretty pleasing. So already you're kind of seeing how those two players playing as a complete forward and a poacher work. And that's why I do it like that. And yeah, hopefully that clears things up for everyone. But anyway, good start here against Swindon. They're a newly promoted team, I do believe. They've only been in the Premier League maybe 1 year before this. So really we expect to win this game. And we're performing very, very well at the moment. We're tearing them apart. Not quite so much as we did against Bournemouth, but we're on the attack again here as Matthew Lewis has a chance. The shot was blocked, but we still do have possession. And now we can break forward with China cutting through the middle. Paul Scholes, that centre mid defend, you know, he sits in this gap, he really shields the defence. And Jeff scores. That's very pleasing because I want him to get some goals. His first goal for the club. China with the assist. And China, a player who he was on the bench a lot last year, but with Pedrera breaking his leg and Sonogo having to go out onto the left mid position because he's our best left mid, it's really opened up an opportunity for China to work some magic there. And he's playing very, very well for us. You can see even early on here, we really are just destroying Swindon. They've still not had a shot on target half an hour in. 65% of possession our way. Their pass completion is 55%, which is awful. I don't think I've seen it that low, to be honest, in this game. That's incredible. We really are dominating this game. If we could get another before half-time, I might look to make a few changes. Maybe put Orlando on, who was complaining about lack of first-team football for the entirety of the second half. But we're on the attack here. Jeff, Matthew Lewis making that run on ahead. China there, dropping into some space. Jeff, can he score again? Can he score again? Can he score again? He can't. Bentley making the save, but that was so close for him right there. But we're performing well. We are tearing Swindon apart, although they have a set piece here. That's something that we do need to defend well. And, well, I'll tell you now, we've not defended that well. Hector with a goal for them. I believe he scored against us maybe last year. For Swindon, for some reason, the name Hector rings a bell. He's in my nightmares. He scores against us. And, well, that offers Swindon a way back into the game with their first shot on goal. Hopefully we can just continue as we've performed in this half and I have full confidence in the team to go on and win. But yeah, a little bit disappointing. We're on the attack straight from kickoff. Surely this isn't going to be a goal straight from kickoff. Go on, Jeff. Go on. Oh, he gets tackled. Leon. Well, he had a chance there for his third goal in 2 games. Unfortunately for him, he has not finished that as you'd like to see him do so. Just blasts it wide. We'll just encourage the players in the second half. And I'm actually going to make a change. I know, crazy. Sonogo's not had the best game. Orlando's complaining about lack of first-team football, so I'm going to play Orlando for the entirety of the second half. Probably should have set team talks for each kind of group of positions, but we'll just go with this, and hopefully we can get off to a good start. Jeff here with the ball tackled, but the ball almost finds its way to Lewis. But yeah, we're doing okay. It's been a good start to the season because I was a little bit worried that, especially after last year where we kind of came so close, yet so far really falling short against Manchester United and making a few changes, that we might not have the goals in us that we had last year. But right now, players are performing well. Jeff, well, with another chance there. We've had 4 clear-cut chances to only convert 2 of them. A wee bit disappointing, perhaps. But on the attack again, Leon, Lewis, China, Leon. Can he find China? No, they're going to hoof the ball up. Mike Morris with a good header. Morris, of course, a big player for us. A young English centre-back who we paid massive money for and is one of the big earners at the club. So we're looking for him to do well as Jeff plays in Lewis. Matthew Lewis scores again. Jeff with another assist. I'll tell you what, those guys look like they could be an absolutely lethal partnership for us. Of course, they're not being truly tested, I guess, against the likes of Bournemouth and Swindon. But good to see them getting these goals to build up some confidence. Jeff drops into that space as the complete forward support, pulls the centre back with him. Lewis able to start making a run across the other left centre back. And the through ball just really opens up and it's a simple pass for a simple finish. And yeah, we're doing well here. And it's good to see the movement of our 2 strikers. You can see here Lewis moving around, Jeff, you know, making that run. And now Leon with another chance to get his 3rd goal in 2 games. Missing it again. At least he hit the target that time. Big save coming out from the keeper. Looking at it, we are looking very comfortable. I might even make a sub after this set piece. Can't see it leading to anything, but what do I know? As Mike Morris has a shot cleared off the line. So yeah, we'll make some changes here. In terms of the actual changes I want to make, I think I'm going to bring on Joe Manning for Paul Scholes. For now, we have a few other subs that we can make. Ryan Meyer isn't quite match fit. He was injured at the start of the season. Of course, he did come on off the bench, I believe, last game. I'll probably give him a run out next game as China now gets injured, so it's a good job I didn't make that double sub. In terms of what we can do here, I think we'll give Ojeda a run out, who is our new kind of loanee from Barcelona. We gave him a little bit of a chance last game in the striker position and he didn't do great there. I signed him primarily to play up top for us as a striker, but it'll be interesting to see perhaps how he slots into this more advanced playmaker position. He does have some nice vision and good passing, so it's a role that he can play, although, to be honest, the passing and vision and kind of overall creative class, I guess, of our whole team is just kind of, I guess, evident throughout our entire squad. We have so many players with very good passing. We're capable of picking out a pass. And there was almost a chance there as the ball came over the top, although Carlini makes the interception. Ojeda the sub to Jeff. Lewis making a run on ahead, but tackle comes in. But, well, you can see Swindon just giving us the ball for fun. Their pass completion still only sitting at 54%, which is just mad. And we win the ball back. Joe Manning, the sub, the young Englishman, winning the ball. We usually play centre-back for us, but playing centre-mid today. Ball might find its way to Matthew Lewis, who hits it. And what is happening? He scores again. An excellent finish. Another hat-trick. His 12th goal of the season. I don't even know what to tell you guys. I don't know if it's because he's such a good poacher. I've shown you his attributes and how it lends himself to the role. If it's how good his pace and strength are as well, which aren't attributes associated with a poacher, but of course help him to find that kind of inch of space and really wrestle off defenders. Or if it's just his consistency in the way that he's deployed in a system where he really spearheads the attack and we have such great creative players behind him that he just simply has to put the ball in for us. Whatever it is, he can't be stopped. He is like a government CIA experiment gone wrong. A hat-trick for him. Jeff with 2 assists and a goal too. Crazy scenes here. We've scored 11 goals in our first 3 games of the season, which is so good. We have got to make our Champions League kind of squad announcement and kind of selection. A few people actually asked about the fact that I don't have that many homegrown players, because as you guys may know, I don't have loads of academy products, I guess, performing in my team who actually generated our team, despite my, I guess, best intentions and best attempts to upgrade our facilities. Our regens are pretty terrible every year, and so as a result, the homegrown players does become an issue. What people don't seem to know is that if you need, I think it's 7 homegrown players, but say you only have 6, you don't instantly kind of fail the squad thing. It just means you're only allowed to name 1 less man in the squad, so you can't kind of put a player in instead. Instead, you kind of forfeit, I guess, that requirement. Anyway, Matthew Lewis wins the Player of the Month of award, getting 8 goals in 3 games in the league. Not too bad. Well done. Well done. You've done okay. I expect a little bit more from you. But 9.2 average rating is just ludicrous. And he got a hat-trick in, what was the Continental game? Oh, of course, it was the Super Cup. And he got a goal in the Community Shield too. So he is on fire, Matthew Lewis. 12 goals in 5 games. Our next game is the first big one, I guess, of this series, as we are going to be taking on Manchester City. For whatever reason, we didn't win Manager of the Month, which is outrageous because we're top of the table, but I won't complain too much, I guess. So we have got a little while to this next game, so I'm going to try and dig up some questions. We'll go to Twitter for some here and see if there's any good ones which people have put in. So someone here, Martin Boberg, has asked about players getting work permits. So I get this question a little bit. If you guys can remember, when I signed Sonogo, he didn't get a work permit. There are 3 criteria on which a player gets a work permit to play, at least in England. The first one is if they're an EU national, if they're from, or they have the nationality of another European team, they're allowed a work permit immediately. The second kind of condition is, I believe they have to have played 80% of their national team's competitive matches in the last 2 years. It's something like that. It's a very kind of, essentially they need to be a regular first team player in their national team is the bottom line. And the third condition, which is the one you'll tend to get wonder kids and kind of young Brazilian players on, is if it's deemed kind of that they will add kind of substantial quality to the quality of football in England. So an example of that in real life would be Willian. who of course joined Chelsea recently, who hadn't played and qualified for the kind of playing the amount of national team games that he needed to play for Brazil. But upon appeal, it was deemed that he added substantial quality to the Premier League and to English football, so they let him get a work permit. As you can see here, PSG taken on Debuchy as manager, and Moya taken on the job at Villarreal, which is kind of a little bit bizarre. We are now getting to kind of the regen age, I guess, of my Football Manager save. We're in 2024, 10 years in now, so you're going to start to see players in their prime right now in real life take on jobs as manager. So we are actually on transfer deadline day, so we're going to be sat here for a while, so I'm going to dig up another question, hopefully one that I can talk about for a while. So I've talked a load of the questions are about signing younger players and how to find players like Matthew Lewis. I hope I've covered that adequately. As I mentioned, I've done videos on it in the past. It's a shame that they changed how the trialling thing worked. So what have we got here? Furthest I've got into an FM save by FM Manager HD on Twitter. So the furthest I've got into an FM save would have been a few years ago now, and by a few years ago I mean back in kind of 2004, I believe, back on Championship Manager, and I had a Swansea save back when they were in the old Division 3, where I took them all the way to the Premier League and beyond, which was kind of a crazy achievement at the time, and I was kind of really pleased with how that went. And I kind of just got obsessed with that save for years. This was back in the days where I would have been 11 years old, so I didn't buy FM after FM every year. And so what I tended to do was I'd get it maybe once every 2 or 3 years. I think the first copy of FM that I had, which was Championship Manager 2004, I actually stole off my brother. But in terms of the longest save, it's probably the Swansea one. If you wanted to talk in terms of years, last year I did an Oxford save where I holidayed really far into the future, and by really far I mean to the year 2185, I think it finished at. And from there, I had it set to auto-saves every 5 years. I then went back through the save, loaded it up at different points to see if there was any exciting challenges to do. One of the jobs that stood out to me was a job at the team known as Oxford United. So I took on this Oxford job, and it was pretty exciting because it was kind of in this completely alien world of football. The year was 2060, so you had all regens. And what made it really exciting was the fact that they were a sugar daddy club who was stuck in the Championship. So I took them on, we won the Championship first year, went into the Premier League, and then the sugar daddy pulled out all of his money, and I had to suddenly kind of just offload all the players I could get rid of, which was a bit of a challenge. So we ended up dumping all these players out, and I was left with kind of a very much a bare bones side, and really had to build from the ground up in the Premier League, ensuring this club, which was financially very unstable, remained stable. For the first few years we were getting docked points because of how unstable the club was, and then in the end I took this club on, won 5 Premier Leagues back to back in about 20 years, and got to the Champions League final twice and lost both times. Still haunts me to this day. But I'm sure some of you guys who watched the streams back then can probably remember that save. Anyway, transfer deadline's passed, so we have to register our squad for the Premier League. We didn't sign anyone late, so that's not a concern. Lewis to register players for the Champions League stage. I usually hit auto pick on this, but it usually goes horribly wrong. So you can see here, homegrown players. The light blue ones are players who have trained it in the team. So Craig Mullen fits that mould. Does Reitmeier fit that mould? Yeah, Reitmeier is now homegrown at club, which is good. Mihal also fits that role, so that's really good actually. And I don't think Matthew Lewis does because we sold him. There must be one more player somewhere. Am I going to be able to find them? Oh, Pedrera. So that's pretty decent. So now we have some players who have been at our team for a while who qualify as homegrown. And that's no longer an issue, because in the past, instead of having a squad of 25, I was only able to maybe fill 2 or 3 of the homegrown at club kind of quota. As a result, I could only have a 20 kind of 3-man squad. Anyway, in terms of the squad that's been selected, I agree with it. Imbert will be dropped. He's a player who we signed a few years ago. Looked like he had a ton of potential at the time, but he's not done a lot for us in recent years. I believe he got 1 massive goal a few years ago, but since then, done absolutely nothing. And the other player who's missing out is Roberto. I don't think I need to say anything more about him. I forgot to offer him out for loan. We'll see if anyone wants to take him on board. I don't even want them to pay his wages. I just want him to play first team football somewhere. But yeah, that's one of the rare times ever where I've asked my assistant to pick my Champions League squad, and he's actually done what I kind of wanted. So Edda, unhappy that my promise wasn't kept. I'm going to be honest, Edda, forgot that you wanted to go, mate. I could offer him to clubs now. There are a few teams interested, but I just have a feeling they're not going to offer anything near what I want for him, because I'm greedy and I want £17 million for a player who barely plays in my first team. But we'll see if anyone comes in. You never know. Oh, okay, so people have come in with £9 million bids. Any of them negotiable? Napoli offered it all up front, which is kind of them. I'm going to ask them for 15 million. They offer 12 million. I want 15 million. They've walked away. Well done, Jack. I'm the best negotiator in the world. That's a lie. I'm terrible. Right. Attempt 2 to negotiate. Okay, that isn't even negotiable, so no. Attempt number 3, non-negotiable. Reject. I'm not going to sell him for £9 million. I'd rather have him as a fringe player for that price. We'll offer him out for 15 million, which is what I was hoping to get for him. And yeah, we'll see how that goes for us. Hopefully some teams make that bid and match our valuation, but we'll see. Edda offers made. Napoli coming in again. Right, so I'm going to follow the exact same negotiation pattern as before, where I say 15. They make the same offer as before. This time, I'm not going to ask for 15. I'm going to ask for 13.5. Plus a little bit more profit from the sale. Motherfuckers. I mean, oh dear. They declined. Wow. Right, these are all going to be the non-negotiable offers because it looks like they're making the same offers again. Right, we'll try again. 14 million, please. This is how I sell players, by the way, to try and get the most I can for them, if you don't know. A few people always seem to comment on the fact that I seem to get really good kind of money back for players. I think that's largely down to just my kind of negotiation strategy. So this time, instead of offering 15 million, where they'll counter offer with the 12 million pound, I'm going to offer him 14. They've actually gone for the exact same bid again. This time we'll go for the 13 million. I want to eke out as much money as I can, and there you go. Got 13 million for a player who they were only willing to pay 9 million pounds for. So pro tips with Jack right there. Because I do get a few questions about my kind of, I guess, approach to selling players and how I do it. So hopefully that example maybe gave you some food for thought. It wasn't the craziest example, but £13 million, 10 million up front, 3 million over a few years for a player who, well, he joined us on a free for 900k last year and didn't do that much and isn't going to play for us this year. So that's not too shabby. Unfortunately for us, we've still got a long way to go to this Man City game because international break and that. But I'm hoping that we can work some magic and get a result there. So I'm going to see if there's any more questions. I must comment on you guys on Twitter. You guys are still submitting questions even now. So we'll see what new ones have come up. So actually, this is a question I had a lot, but the guy who's asked this here is Lewis Emsley. I hope I said that name right. And he's asked about who won the Ballon d'Or on my save and who's been winning the awards. And that's actually a question that I've had a lot. Mihal wants to discuss lack of first team football. I'm not being funny. You've been on international duty until last week. So that's a bug. Report it on the forums. Right, we'll give you time to come on and play for us. Mihal, crazily good young player. Obviously, he's homegrown, which is a nice bonus. He was at the Olympics, so he's been away for a while, but he's back now. But yeah, a few people asked about Ballon d'Or and award winners, so we'll have a quick look at that in a second. I'm just going to advance for a few more days. Matthew Lewis hasn't won anything yet. I think he's won the Golden Shoe, is it, for goal scoring 2 years in a row? I might be wrong. We'll check on all the awards because that's something that I'm sure people want to see on this save anyway, and it's something that I can easily forget to do at the end of season reviews and all that jazz. So we'll take a look at it as I accidentally hit continue too many times. Right, transfer revenue retained has gone up to 100%, so that's decent. Especially with that Edda sale, means we'll get all the money from that to reinvest. You can see club balance looking really healthy, £32 million in the bank. Right, so let's take a look at these awards. We'll go to World. And then award winners. So in terms of the World Golden Ball Award, it goes Messi still. Still Messi. Is Ronaldo retired? He has. He's a coach. Quick. Sign Ronaldo. I know that you guys are probably screaming yourself, sign Ronaldo, so we're going to do it, even though he's a terrible coach. Suarez finishing second. And then Alberto Sherry. I think it's Sherry, or is it Cherry? It must be Kerry. No, we'll go with Sherry. That sounds better, doesn't it? Sounds like I'm describing different types of wine. So that's the World Golden Ball. World Player of the Year, Messi again. It's not very interesting, this, is it? When he retires, Matthew Lewis will take this award. And then World Team of the Year. Matthew Lewis is in the World Team of the Year on the bench. Bless his little heart. So he is there. All seasons. That's the all seasons. You can pause if you want to see it, obviously. But yeah, Matthew Lewis is the only player last year who got on it who has ever been in the World Team of the Year who's a player of ours. There's a few awards within Europe I guess we'll cover real quick because people will probably want to know about them too. So best player in Europe. You can see actually Lucas here, who is a Man City Regen, finished second last year in that a few years ago. Matthew Lewis got second best player in Europe last year. Hopefully he can overthrow them this year and this calendar year. That's kind of the dream, I guess. He'll be able to kind of overturn Suarez's dominance. European Golden Boy, you can see all the past winners here. I don't think there's any of our players who have got on this yet, unfortunately. Mitchell Witt, or Michal Witt, this guy is a player who I've looked to sign for a number of years. He's probably the best striker not playing in England, who's a regen, and he looks absolutely incredible, but unfortunately for us we missed out on getting him. There was actually a period where he was available as a free player, with you being able to offer a contract to him. I did try and get him, but he got away. In terms of Golden Shoe, Matthew Lewis has won it 3 out of the last 4 years. Last year getting a score of 82, which is very, very high, but actually if you compare it to the likes of Messi during his kind of prime, I guess, back in 2012, 2013, he's not actually that close at all. That's kind of the dream, I guess, for him to do it. But he has outperformed Ronaldo in terms of goal scoring, which isn't too shabby, I guess you could say. But anyway, let's focus now back on this Man City game coming up. But there is a little overview of the stats for you guys who asked about it. Hopefully you're enjoying this episode. One thing I'd ask is if you've watched to this point, you leave a comment. I'm trying to think of inspiration around me for a comment. Name me your favourite beverage. It can be an alcoholic drink, it can be a shot, it could be a cocktail, it could be Coke, it could be water if you're really adventurous. But yeah, give me a drink that you like to drink down in the comments, just down there. I know that if I mention this at the end of the episode, people who skip to the end are going to write their water and I'm going to think they've watched all the way through. So if you've watched to this random kind of point in the video, I mean, firstly, shout out to you and thank you for watching. But I also know that you haven't skipped to the end, which is, of course, much appreciated. So anyway, Man City. I feel like I've been saying this Man City's game's coming up for a while. Normally, if this was a commentary, I would just kind of skip to the game so you guys don't have to watch this. But you guys wanted a live episode. Cristiano Ronaldo signs for Lewis. Think of all the shirt sales with his name on the back, even though he's coming in as a coach. Maybe instead of getting kits with his name on, kids will get the tracksuits, with the CR kind of on his chest. Maybe that's a thing. Anyway, looking at the Champions League betting odds, PSG and Schalke made joint favourites. Our odds are 11-1, so we're not kind of massively backed, but same odds as Juve and Bayern, so not too shabby, I guess you could say. Winning it last year definitely helped those odds for us. Of course, last season we were the 4th seed in our group, and that meant that we got a pretty tricky Champions League group. I guess this year with us winning it, I don't know if that automatically qualifies us to be the number 1 seed, but it leaves us in a situation where I guess we don't have to be too worried about getting drawn against big teams because we are the big fish kind of in our league and in our group. So anyway, coming up here to this Man City game, finally, I've got to remember that a few players need to play. Players like Michal. I might start Vladimir Orlando for this game. Pedrera might be back and fit enough to go on the bench, although I don't think his match fitness is going to be great. So we'll see how that goes for us. Got loads of loan offers for loads of our random players. I've touched on this before, but loads of people always ask about, my academy. How good are my good young players? They're terrible. They're awful. They are the products of our academy, regrettably. One quick thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to check to see if we can request our facilities to be increased. Okay, the board don't want to increase it. I can't stress how important I believe this could be. After considering what you've said, we've decided to grant your request. Thank you very much, board. So that's good. Youth facilities being improved again. Can't stress how important that is, particularly if you're taking a team who's very small like Lewis right the way up. £4 million that's going to cost us, and it'll be done by October of next year. So that's good news. I don't know what level that's going to take us to. I don't know if it says in the actual message. No, it doesn't, unfortunately. But no, that's good. That's good progress to get those youth facilities upgraded. And now we take on the mighty Man City. We've got about 39 minutes left of this episode. Hopefully you've been enjoying it. And we're going to kick off with our first big game, I guess, of the season, really. We've had a nice kind of walk in the park to begin. We've had the walk, but now we're letting the dog off the lead. And it's going to be down to us to try and, I guess, keep him under control. I don't even know what that analogy means. Sonogo's struggling with fitness. Martinez as well. Vladimir Orlando got an injury. I must have missed the news item for that because I'm an idiot. He's out for 2 to 3 weeks with a sprained ankle. That is not good news. Fortunately for us, Pedrera is almost back fully fit. This does leave us in an awkward situation where Eder, who we're currently in the process of selling, is going to have to play for us. At right mid, we are also a bit of a man short, but we can move Ojeda to there. I guess the Martinez and Sonogo were both playing on international duties, hence their kind of fatigue. Right Meyer also a little bit fatigued, but we're going to put him in anyway, ahead of Mike Morris. So this is one of the first times where we're playing with our kind of best three centre-backs, which is kind of pleasing. I'm also going to move Joe Manning in ahead of Scholes, I think. Scholes' average rating is 7.03 this season. Manning had a very good start to the season, 7.23 for him. So this is going to be the first real test of the season. All in all, I'm pretty happy with the team. Actually, I've changed my mind. Last minute change of decision. I'm going to play Michal instead of Manning, but we'll put Manning on the bench. Michal is our kind of normal starting centre mid. Been out obviously on international duty, but the young German are very good players. Physicals are incredible, still improving as well, which is good. And I think he's got kind of a chance to be a really big player for us. Not comfortable in big matches, but we're going to give him a run out today and hope that he can do a job for us. I really wish I'd turned off the notifications on my phone. If you hear the vibrating, I'm sorry. I've tried to move it away, and if I occasionally look down this way, that's really awkward, the left-hand point. Yeah, I'm looking at my phone. So looking at their team, they've got some pretty decent players. They've got some kind of weird rip-off of Di Natale called Di Napoli, which is slightly different. He looks okay. Elsewhere, they've got Scuffet in goal, who's a very good keeper at the start of your games. They've got Yuri Tielemans, who's just incredible. Next to him, they've got Alaba and Koch, which are pretty... If you saw that as a centre mid setup playing against you, even now, you'd be pretty scared of that. It's a little bit unorthodox, I guess, with Koch and Alaba playing centre mid, but that's a nice team that they have, and I'm a little bit scared. But we'll see how we get on here. Did I forget to set team player instructions? I think I did. Opposition instructions. I always like to trust my assistant. There we go, sorted. Let's get into today's game. Looking for Jeff and Lewis to have good performances. And well, this is a big test for us, but we've looked very good to start the season against smaller teams. But these are the games that can really define our season. If we struggle against Man City, perhaps I'll have to reconsider our kind of title-winning credentials. I also want to apologise now. This is a new webcam. And I have cut the recording twice during this just to sort out a few bits and pieces. I'm noticing that when I move my hands and my head, which I seem to do a lot when I talk, terrible habit. I feel like I'm Churchill the nodding dog if you're from England and watch the insurance adverts. But the camera seems to autofocus, so if occasionally I go blurry, it probably looks better on your eyes anyway, but I extend my sincerest apologies, and hopefully it hasn't ruined your day to an extent where you're now going to finish watching the video and go and cry about the fact I was blurry for a few seconds. I might go cry after this because Tielemans has just scored against us. First goal of the season for him. This is actually one of the few FM saves where I've seen him really become ridiculously world class. I did a review of him a little while ago as a player, and I kind of questioned how good he can become and if he consistently becomes kind of a world beater. In this save, he's become a world beater, and he's now coming back to haunt me as he gets his first goal of the game. Looking at it, Man City dominating, but we have had more possession despite not having so many shots. And Ojeda, well, he scores. The Barcelona loanee, making his mark. A player who, throughout this episode, as you may have noticed, I've really wanted to give that first team football. So if there was a time when he had to start, he'd be ready. And he's ready for this one game where we need him the most. A looping header to the back post. First shot of the game for us. We've dominated possession, but we've not done a lot with it, unlike Man City. Hopefully we can now use that to our advantage and really go on the attack here as Jeff brings the ball forward with a great run. Ball almost finds its way back to Lewis, but Man City will have possession here as... I don't know what's happened. Jeff has scored. Well done, Jeff. You used his head. I told you not to trust keepers in Football Manager. If you're listening to this, you need to tab out and watch this goal because, well, if it happens to me, I'd probably turn off the game and stop the recording, but it's happened to us and it's hilarious. And I'm not going to complain one little bit. So 2-1 to us. Apparently it did count as a shot, which is decent. And we're on the attack again here as the ball finds its way to Juan Carlos Leon. Cleared away, but Lewis is there. Edge of the area to China. Tackle, but the ball's still alive. Jeff managing to recycle possession, and we still have the ball, although Alaba wins the ball, and now Man City on the counter-attack. Di Napoli, that really doesn't roll off your tongue like Di Natale does, with the ball now. Rogero out wide for them, whips in the ball, Sherry's there, and, well, he heads it over. He probably has to score that for them. A player who, as I mentioned, has been right up there with the World Player of the Year awards when we were looking through them. And he's missed a chance there. Juan Carlos Leon getting a knock, however. That is not good news. Sonogo going to have to play the box-to-box midfielder for us. Unfortunately for him, it's not his preferred position, but fortunately for us, he's one of the best players in the world at playing that role, and he'll slot in very nicely there. Although, Man City on the attack. Juan Carlos Leon not subbed off yet, but Morris, nice header back to the keeper. Now Kouakou, don't kick it at their attacker's head, please. Carlini, one of the new signings, gives the ball straight to them. And that is a nightmare. And Di Napoli, what a finish that is. Smashes it into the top left-hand corner. His first goal of the season. Sonogo will now come on at least, which is good news. But unfortunately for us, we've conceded 2. And that's disappointing. Especially with the upgrades we've made to our defence. Because that was kind of a goal that was conceded because of really poor defensive play. And I'm a bit bummed out about that, but we've got to keep our heads up. It's still only 2-2. Jada here making a big ball across for Lewis, but that is read very well there. And now Di Napoli winning the ball and holding up the ball for them. Michal, the young German centre back or centre mid with an attempted clearance but couldn't get it away. And now they're on the attack, and now Di Napoli scores a bizarre goal. I think that might be given as an own goal. It is. Carlini had a mare. I'm almost tempted to take him off right now. Although, to be honest, you can't really blame it solely on him because the rest of our defence has been bloody awful today too. Reitmeyer's condition isn't superb, but he's been disappointing there, and I guess it's Andres there, puts in the ball, and then Di Napoli with a shot that's going miles wide, deflects in. We'll feel hard done by, but looking at the stats, Man City having a lot more chances. But we are having more of the ball, and with the ball you can create some opportunities. We've not done that yet, but I'm hoping we can step things up here as we are on the attack. China trying to find Lewis but can't, but we still do have possession of the ball. Out wide to Eder, the man who could be on his way out of the club, to Jeff, who looks for Lewis but can't quite find it. And now our defence is kind of looking here, there and everywhere, and we are just choking here. We give them the ball, Man City letting us off the hook. I'm making a tactical change because this is not convincing. This is awful. Change I'm actually going to make is not anything too crazy, really. We just need somewhat. We need help, basically. So I'm going to play with Michal to play a centre mid, defensive mid defend role. I'm going to move Jeff to advance forward, and I'm actually going to play China as a support player. I'm hoping that just committing a few men a little bit deeper will prevent City from doing what they're doing to us right now. But Carlini been error prone. I know that assistant. You don't have to tell me. I've seen it firsthand this game. But unfortunately for us, half-time, going to be 3-2 to Man City. Probably worth the wait this game, for the fans at least. It's been exciting. I'm going to tell the players to avenge what happened last time we played Man City, and I'm also going to encourage them. A really good reaction coming out from the dressing room here. The defenders who look happy and motivated need to perform better in the second half. Conceding 3 in one half is never acceptable, no matter who the opponents, and to concede them in the manner we have, particularly disappointing. So I'm hoping these changes are going to work in our favour. I'm also going to change our passing to more direct. With us removing our centre attack in mid, our 2 strikers might get a little bit more isolated, so looking for that direct passing. Hoping that we're going to really be able to pick them out. Although Tielemans with a set piece that hits the post and Cherry's there to make it 4-2. And I want to cry. You don't normally see this when we get hammered like this or beaten like this, but disappointing. And suddenly we need to do something crazy. And crazy is what we do best. So we're going for it. We've got to go for it really, haven't we? We can't just sit back. Pedrera, get on the pitch. I'm going to go with a roaming playmaker actually on Sonogo. I have one more sub, but I almost want to hold on to it. In fact, no, I'm not doing it. I'm using all 3 subs. The FM gods may stare at us and weep and give us injuries and stuff, but I need Martinez and Pedrera on. We need our wingers to be changed. They're getting a lot of space with their wing backs, at least from what we've seen, and I'm going to make some changes accordingly. So looks like they've made some changes. They've actually taken off Tielemans and Di Napoli, but we need. Knew it was going to happen. Never make all 3 subs in FM because the game knows. Oh, the FM gods. Just staring down at me laughing right now. I knew it was happening. Well, this would be mission impossible if we make the comeback now, because we're 4-2 down to 10 men because I made all my subs because I thought I could get lucky, but we need magic. Lewis, work magic. It's not magic. Looking at the stats, they've been the better team. We've actually performed better with less men, I feel like. But unfortunately for us, this game, it was always going to be tricky at 4-2 down. It became 10 times trickier when we lost a man. We might have a chance here, though. Jeff, go on, Jeff. Pedrera, the sub, tipped away. Martinez, the other sub. Can you put the ball into the box? He can. Lewis is there, please. Michal, Pedrera. But, I can't get the ball into the box. Oh, man. We've been so unlucky this game. China whipping in the ball. Carlini cleared away, but only as far as Reitmeier. Can he work some magic for us? Please. We need a goal now. We have 7 minutes. China. Carlini. Oh, Reitmeier. Someone work something. Work the space. Martinez. No, that's not the ball that we needed. And I think that marks the end of any aspirations of getting a point from this game, unfortunately. I rolled the dice in making the big changes and going more attacking. In the end, the slimmest of odds is the one that's kind of hurt us the most, going down to 10 men. You'd have to say that we've created chances despite our lack of men, but we've conceded 4. And given the money I've invested into the defence this year, it's really disappointing to see us kind of defensively, I guess, just not perform to our best and struggle in the manner we have here. We've been put to the sword by Man City. They deserved the win. They had 26 shots. Just going to tell the players I'm not happy. Get them fired up. Get them motivated. We've got to bounce back. We've got a big game in the Champions League coming up. Sonogo reveals my fury. I hope he does, because I'm not happy. Right, let's check. How long's left of this live com? I really should have got a timer that doesn't have a risk of kind of interfering with my phone. We have 25 minutes left, so I'm hoping in that time we can get a few more games done. Maybe try and avenge Manchester City by getting a league win before the end of the episode. Looking at the games we've got coming up, we'll definitely get in at least one Champions League game. We've got Everton and West Ham to maybe play, and Newcastle. So some nicer games coming up, but that does leave us with a tricky run into the midway point in the season and potentially towards the end of the year. We're going to be taking on the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United at a real kind of crunch time. Swindon losing 7-0 to Arsenal. That's going to be painful for them. Looking at the league, I mentioned Newcastle maybe being an easier game, but they are currently unbeaten at the top of the table, currently in second place, only behind Manchester United, so not going to be able to underestimate them too much. We did break a record attendance, however. What was that the attendance for? Okay, that was our new high. The reason that was our new high is because we were playing at Brighton Stadium, which holds more than ours. So there you go. There's an achievement for us. I mentioned Brighton. They are still in our division. They must have expanded the Amex since we last played at the American Express Stadium, which would explain things. You can see they're struggling at the moment, and they've actually really established themselves as a Premier League team. I didn't realise quite how well they've done. They finished 8th 2 out of the last 3 years, which is pretty kind of impressive, I guess, for them. So, yeah, if you don't know why we're playing in Brighton Stadium right now, we're in the process of having our stadium expanded. It's only been expanded by like 7,000 seats to just over 20,000, but for whatever reason, we've had to kind of leave the stadium completely. That's due to be finished in April, but because of the way things are going, I'm kind of highly anticipating the fact that we will probably have to expand it again immediately and probably move straight back out, which is a little bit of a pain, but we need a stadium that kind of, I guess, fulfills our needs, really. Bradal is unhappy with the standard of fitness coaching. Of course you are. You're always moaning. I think it's the pink hair. He's a moaner. He's injured. I mean, he's quite happy with everything, but he just seems to moan about nothing. He's similar to Juan Carlos Leon. Maybe we should get him being coached by him. What PPMs does he have? None. Right, okay, let's get him coached by Sonogo. Oh, he's injured with food poisoning, so I can't get him tutored. Excellent, thank you, game. A few more of my young players wanted on loan. Morales will let go on loan because he's a good player, but he needs first team football. He actually joined us on a free, you can see him. I think he's Honduras. I think it's Honduran if you're from Honduras, but he's been a good player for us, so I'm hoping that he can develop a little bit whilst he's at our team. Obviously, a good player to get in on a free. A loan to Derby would be pretty decent for him. I don't know how much first-team football he'll get, but they don't have the worst facilities in the world. Usually, I'd spend a little bit more kind of time going over these loan offers that we're getting in, but because of how bad our players are, I mean, these are players that are likely never going to play in the first team, so I'm kind of just happy to loan them out to whoever for the most part. There are obviously the odd exceptions, such as players like Morales. You can see Andy Walker here also having a few loan offers. So anyway, I'm going to quickly fire up the YouTube sphere and get some more questions that you guys have submitted. So lots of tactics questions. I answered them earlier, of course. If you skipped through the video and you're at this point, chances are I've answered the question that you asked, because I think I've done kind of it for the most part. Actually, a good question here. It's a simple question, but Gary Nico has asked, attributes or stars? Now, I assume he means this in terms of when you're judging a player, because when you first come to play FM, it can be very, very daunting just seeing all these attributes. There's no overall number if you're used to kind of FIFA, I guess, or any game that just has an overall number. And it can be tricky to judge kind of players. And this links back actually to the thing about roles, because if a player has a really well-balanced kind of overview to him, but he's not a star at any one role, he might be not so good at playing a position you want to play as a player who's weaker technically, but across the board he's really well tailored to the kind of the exact role that you're looking for him to play. Now, I'd never use the stars, but they can be good when you start. One thing that often annoys me is the stars, people don't really seem to understand them. The stars are relative to the team that you're in. So if you have a 5-star player and you're in the conference, that means nothing, because that means he's a very good player relative to your team and your league. Whereas if you have a 5-star player in the conference and then you move into the Premier League, he's going to be a 1-star player. It isn't like an overall attribute by any means. It's just a nice way that you can reference players in your team. Generally speaking, I don't use the stars at all for judging a player's current ability. I know what I'm looking for in players. I sign players for specific roles, and that makes things very easy because I know what attributes I'm looking for. The only time I do use stars is for judging potential. The reason for that being is there is no other way to judge potential. You cannot guess a player's potential by looking at his attributes. The stars are really the only way to, I guess, establish and work out exactly what a player's potential could be. And so they're very important for that. So, yeah, that's a little bit about stars. I don't use them other than for potential, and even then I only really use them as a guideline. I'll usually get a scout to scout a player extensively so that we have the gold stars for potential in order to show and know that I kind of know exactly what I'm going to get from the player that I'm scouting rather than taking a load of massive punts. The exception of that might be if I can't scout the player and I can just see a few attributes and he's young, I might take a chance on him. But I think a common misconception is just because a player's good at a very young age doesn't mean he's going to be world class at the end of it all. You will find players who just don't improve throughout the kind of entirety of their career, and at 20 they peak. I guess an example of that in real life would be kind of Michael Owen, who of course many would argue peaked in his early 20s. Sure, he had a lot of injuries, but he never really kind of stepped up, I guess, from there. Anyway, just realised I accidentally locked in my team during that ramble without actually kind of evaluating what was going on. Hopefully that won't cost us too much. Just going to tell the players that I expect to win today and that I have faith in them. Hopefully they can really step up for the occasion and perform well here as we are kind of kicking off our Champions League kind of defend, I guess, of kind of our mantle and of our kind of claim. I've got like a tickly nose. I might have to pause the recording because I feel like I'm going to sneeze. I'm trying to suppress it so hard. First world problems. Right, I'll be back in just a second. I really need to pause. And I'm back. I've cleared my nose. I don't feel like I'm about to sneeze anymore. Carlini picks up a knock. Now, we paid £27 million for a defender who so far has made a complete kind of disaster of a game against Man City and now has a knock and needs to go off. It's not gone very well for us, that transfer so far. We'll give him time. Some transfers take a while to get going and you just have to keep putting faith in a player. Good example in this save, I guess, would be Suarez, who, of course, had a bit of a slow start but stepped things up. But we're on the attack here. We're on the attack. Jeff Lewis finds some space, uses his acceleration to just find a gap in the defence, and he gets his first goal of this Champions League kind of campaign, and it's not taking him too long, just 24 minutes. Looking at the stats, we're dominating. We are having fun. We are having a giggle. And Lewis, just a nice little touch to take it around two defenders, and then just slots the ball cool and composed on his left foot, goes off to celebrate with the masses. He's loving it. And we are playing absolutely superbly right now. I'm really happy. That Manchester City game is in the back of my mind as now we have a penalty. Matthew Lewis with a chance to double his tally already 30 minutes into this Champions League campaign. If he could get a second here, that would be crazy. And he gets it. 2-0. Let's go. He goes off to celebrate in the corner with the away fans. Lewis looking very good for a first win of this Champions League stage. And it's worth noting, Genoa, I believe, are the highest seeded team in our group behind ourselves. They kind of were in the second pot, if you can call it that. Or it might have been Ajax. I don't think it was. I think they were. They must have had a very good Champions League a few years ago, or in the last few years. But either way, we're looking very good here. And at half-time, 2-0 up, away from home. And actually, am I speaking too soon? There's room for more. Ball comes into the box. It's cleared away, but only as far as Mike Morris, who finds Eder, who finds inside to China. Michal, the young German, back inside China. Jeff looking for that pass but can't quite find it, and that was blocked, I believe, by the centre-back for the Italian side. But now they're on the attack. Now we need to defend. Now we are going to be tested as this guy just comes running at our defence. And who was that at right centre-back? It was Reitmeier, the number 42. I should know that. That's his number. And he let his man run inside, but fortunately for us, Kouakou, a player who people in the comments of YouTube seem to want to get rid of, saving our bacon again. But we're doing well. We're doing well. 2-0 up here. I'm going to see if I can get any more questions up, because I feel like there's a lot here that I haven't answered. Someone asked, where's Curry Dog? He's at the Curry house. He's having a giggle. Someone asked, biggest surprise signing of the save. I'm going to exclude Matthew Lewis from this just because Matthew Lewis was a player who I didn't expect to find, but I guess this means player who I signed who became a lot more useful than I thought he was going to be. I think probably Piers Sweeney, the centre-back who I signed in League 2, who kind of stayed with us all the way to the Premier League. I didn't think when we signed him that he was really kind of crazily good enough and would be able to be a championship quality player, but he really has stepped up for us and been a fantastic player for us whilst he was at the club. So that might be a bit of an unexpected answer, but he really has been a shock as Matthew Lewis almost gets the hat-trick. Have we got any other questions here? Best player in the series apart from Lewis? In my opinion, I really like Sonogo. I think he has like a nice little story about how he joined the team as a complete punt. Didn't have a work permit, just stayed at the club working hard. I actually offered him out at one point in a live com at the end of an episode, and he got really upset about it because he wanted to stay at Lewis. And it was from that moment on that I knew I wanted him to play in the team. You know, he wanted to be a player, and I can respect that, and you don't often see that in Football Manager. And so we kept him. He got a work permit the following year in the Championship, and he's now one of our kind of core players in our team. And we signed him for pennies, really, from an Ivory Coast team, and I found him through the fact he was playing at international level at the age of 18, and I think he just has a nice little kind of story behind him. I imagine he'd have like a documentary about himself, like Eric Sonogo, The True Story, where it like shows him as a kid growing up in the Ivory Coast, aspiring to be the next Yaya Toure and Drogba, and then one day little old Lewis came knocking on, and he decided to follow his dreams and go to this little club in the south of England where he knew he wouldn't be able to play football, but knew he could try and develop there and prove them wrong. And he went and did it. Now I'm saying this sounds like a fantastic plot for a movie, so if anyone has any friends who are directors, we'll need someone with the exact haircut of Eric Sonogo, though, which might prove to be a little bit of a challenge. But if you know anyone with this haircut, let me know. Give them my number. give them my Twitter, not my number. You don't have my number. That would be weird if you did. But yeah, good performance there. Lewis given 800k for the win. Matthew Lewis with 2 goals in the game, both in the first half, which was very good. A few players going out on loan. These are the insignificant youngsters who I don't care about. I'm sorry. It's the truth. Someone asked if I'm ever going to do a Pentagon Challenge again. I feel like I've answered that a million times, but I will be doing the Pentagon Challenge again. Walter White has asked, have you played in a lower league save outside of England, such as Spain, Italy or France? The truth is no. I've only done really a few major lower league team saves, and the examples I'd give of me doing that are obviously this save and FC United. In terms of lower league saves outside of Europe, I've not done any within the likes of Spain, France and Germany, etc. I guess the closest I have done to that was last year. I did a save in Gibraltar, in the second tier of Gibraltar I started. And I took a team all the way to the Champions League final and lost as a Gibraltar team. So whilst that isn't technically starting 20 tiers down, the fact of the matter is that I was starting at a club in the second tier of a tiny peninsula off the south coast of Spain, or on the south coast of Spain technically, in terms of it's not actually like an island as such. But I took that team and I had to really kind of advance Gibraltar as a nation up through the footballing pyramid. And that came through consistently doing well in Europe, moving up the nation's coefficient, helping the national team out, bringing in foreign talent, getting a TV deal eventually in the league, which saw teams start to get a lot of money in and really starting to invest it in their side. And that was a really fun adventure. But I guess that's the closest I've come to a lower league save outside of England. I don't know if that even counts. You can let me know if you think it counts. As you can see here, Neil Adams took time to build up praise about my ability to find foreign talent. I agree, Neil. Right, I'm just going to do a quick thing quickly. I just want to see if there's any players whose contracts are running out at the end of the season who might be worth keeping an eye out on. Because this is something that I'll do, is I'll look at players whose contracts are expiring in a year, and I will mass scout them, so I have all their everything about them known on record way in advance. Of course, players who are based outside of England, when they have 6 months left on their contract, you can approach to sign them. So it can be very, very beneficial to make sure you have all the players scouted who you might want to take a look at way in advance. So the way I like to do this is actually I'll assign a scout for a decent period, and I usually use Lee Maybury because he's one of my best. One of my best scouts, and I'll let him just scout all these players for 2 months. By which point we should have a rough idea of which ones might be worth approaching to sign, if any. Worth noting that I have already got decent knowledge on a lot of these players, anyway, because I like to scout random players and just keep up to date with kind of the good players coming up. But yeah, this can be pretty useful. You can see some fairly well-known older players here. Coming up, Alan Brock, a player who I've been very interested in signing for a few years from Tottenham, but they've wanted crazy money for him. So he's a player maybe to keep an eye out for. We'll just assign a scout to him real quick for 3 months because he wasn't in the price range of the players I just mass selected, holding shift if you don't know how to do that. But anyway, Everton today, we've only got about 10-15 minutes left of this episode, so I'll probably try and do 2 more games for you guys if I can really quick, and then next episode I think we'll kick things off with the game against Newcastle because that looks like it could be quite a big one. They have actually lost recently, the top of the Premier League table looking pretty tight. We are hot on the heels of the other teams, but looking at Arsenal's goal difference, crazily good. They've beaten Swindon 7-0, Bournemouth 5-0 and Hull 5-1, so they've actually played very similar fixtures to us, which is kind of a little bit odd. But yeah, Everton going strong as well. They're not going to be an easy team here. They're in 8th. I hope that we can go on a decent run actually when we play against West Ham in the Capital One Cup. I'd like to go on and win that tournament. We got knocked out in the semi-finals last year of the Capital One Cup, and whilst it's a kind of cup, if we just quickly look at the board, they're not that kind of bothered about. It's something that I'd like to do fairly well in. I'm actually forgetting where the board page is. This is the issue actually when you've not played FM in a while and then you come back to it and have to record videos. Is it under finances? I feel like an absolute idiot here because this is something that I should know and I've done a million times and I can't remember how to find the board page. It's this button. I'm an idiot. It's because I've not got the labels either. That probably isn't helping my case because on my skin I've got rid of them. But yeah, if we look at the board confidence here, just so you guys get a rough idea of what they're expecting from the year. Champions League, they expect us to reach the semi-final of European Super Cup. They thought we'd win and we won that, so that's good for that. In the Premier League, they want us to challenge for the title. In the FA Cup, they want us to reach the final. In the Capital One Cup, they don't care. And in the Community Shield, they don't care. So we were kind of fortunate when we lost to Manchester United on penalties in the Community Shield that our board just didn't care about it. But anyway, Goodison Park here, not going to be an easy game. Carlini out injured, which is a shame. Looking at our team, it's almost at full strength, which is pretty pleasing to be able to say. We are going to play Michal at centre mid instead of Scholes, and then we'll move Batagelli on for Scholes. Tita disappointed by lack of first team football. I'm going to give him a chance at complete forward today. Vladimir Orlando, who also wants first team football, is currently injured, which is a bit of a pain. But other than that, that's pretty much a full strength team, perhaps with the exception of the Tita change. And also Carlini, who obviously went off with a knock before, only got a damaged elbow, so he's only going to be out for a few days, so that's not too big of a worry for us. And I guess given how weak his start's been to the start of the season, perhaps that's going to work in our favour. Looking at the Everton team here, they're actually playing a 4-2-3-1 with a narrow free kind of man attack in midfield, so we're going to have to be wary of that. They've got some pretty nice talent as well in players like Ledson here and also players like Han Sung-Ye and also this guy Dragon Trifunov, who looks pretty decent. So we're going to have to be wary. It looks like they've got some pretty attacking minded players. So this could be a bit of a test for our three at the back, but we'll see how we get on. I'm not sure how well three at the back is going to combat how they play, but on the flip side, I feel like we might be able to really expose them at the back should we really get a hold on the game and really limit, I guess, how much they can dominate that midfield region with their attacking midfielders. This could really go one way or another, given how the two teams are shaped up. On the one hand, they obviously have the really packed centre attacking mid, which with only three at the back could overwhelm us a little. But if we hit them on the break and dominate possession and don't let them have the ball, we could punish them at the back, as Matthew Lewis has a chance there to open up the scoring for us. That is a clear-cut chance which he did not take, but the ball will come in. Stankovic does, however, collect the ball for Everton, and they will look to break away, but nothing coming of it. But that clear-cut chance for Lewis, disappointing to see him miss it, although we are on the attack here. Martinez whips in the ball, Tita. Lewis scores. Tita probably should have got it in himself, but Matthew Lewis, 15th goal of the season. He could get 70, which is ludicrous to say. I did wonder if he might slow down a bit this year, in the live com, curse the commentator, I big him up a little bit, and it just doesn't work in his favour. But you guys are witnessing single-handedly firsthand what perhaps you don't see in some episodes where I do an episode every few months, which is just Matthew Lewis just dominating the league and tearing apart teams. And, well, it's been a pretty good start to the season all in all, really, despite that defeat to Man City. The live com, I'm pretty happy with how the results have gone. Of course, we're going to do this game and then one more. Martinez whips in the ball. Tita's there. Oh, dear. How has he missed that? Oh, Tita. £3 million. You're £3 million years old, and you can't score that. That's a reference to a few episodes ago. I'm not broken again. Don't you guys worry. Ball pumped up. Tita with the attempted kind of control, but the defender got there first. Michal, don't get sent off. I thought he'd been sent off then. I thought a foul had been given. Oh dear. Oh dear. Michal, what have you done? We're defending for our lives. Please, I'm now sat praying. That's how desperate we're getting here. 1-0. Still, somehow, we've held on. And now Ledson to McCarthy. Oh dear. Please defend. Brown. Morris somehow gets there. This isn't very convincing at all. We've dominated the game early on, but this was my fear. You know, the three at the back could get a little overwhelmed when we don't have possession of the ball. But we've weathered one hell of a storm there. Now can we break? Martinez, run you little Colombian man. Down the line, inside to Lewis. Inside again to Leon. Sonogo, Tita, hits it. Saved. Lewis rebound. Is it offside? It's not offside. That's his 16th goal of the season. This is ridiculous. He is a monster. Nerf this sick filth. Leon gets tackled. Sonogo to Tita. Tita with an effort. Keeper parries it away, but Matthew Lewis with that anticipation combined with his acceleration, agility and pace, just able to react first. Picking up the ball and putting it in the back of the net. Leon picking up a knock. Not even going to risk it. We'll just bring on Shiner here. To play the box-to-box mid-roll for us. We'll keep with Sonogo in the centre attacking mid-position. Hopefully that isn't too serious a knock for Juan Carlos Leon, because he does get a fair few injuries and he is a key player for us when he is fit. But we're on the attack again here. Matthew Lewis cuts inside, looking for that hat-trick, and well, he was tackled there apparently. I thought he'd just placed that wide, which would have been very uncharacteristic. China to whip in the ball. Tita to Lewis, almost able to get there, but Akore will recycle possession. Can China get the ball in the second time of asking? Whipped in Tita. Can't quite get there, and, well, Everton weather a storm. Looking at it, they've had one clear-cut chance and one shot on target all game. We are dominating. 17 shots in total. We're dominating possession of the ball, 55%. Pass completion, 79%. We're on the attack again here. Martinez whips it in. Tita... Penalty given. Jamal Lascelles with the foul, and Matthew Lewis with a chance for a first half hat-trick here from the spot. I think this is his third penalty of the season in all competitions. Might even be his third this live com. Can he make it 3 out of 3 for the hat-trick? Hits it straight down the middle. No mistakes there. Matthew Lewis doing what he does best. Scoring his 250th goal of his career. He will be very proud of that. I'm proud of that. He just, wow, okay, I've never seen someone hit a penalty that hard. That was ridiculous. And at the break, it's 3-0. I'm very happy, boys. Can't complain one little bit about what I've seen here. This is what we need to see more of. Everton, a team challenging at the top of the table. They've played very well early on. Question marks over us perhaps after our defeat to Man City and poor defensive record, but right now we are shutting up shop at the back and we're on the attack here. Tita through with a chance to make it 4, blocked away, but Martinez puts in the ball and almost another chance there, unfortunately cleared away, and Everton live to fight another day, but this could get very, very messy if they are not careful, because we are dominating possession of the ball. We're doing a lot with it. Although at the same time, they could hit us on the break. I could jinx it completely. I don't think they're going to overturn the deficit at this point. This is now turned into a kind of just a case of score as many goals as we can. As the tackle is put in there, as I think it was Tita bared down on goal. And now Everton on the counter. They've got a man over, number 7. Okay, they've got a lot of men over. We have just been caught completely short at the back there. Ryan Ledson with the goal for them. And he makes it 3-1. Perhaps a consolation goal. Perhaps Everton could mount a late comeback. I hope that isn't going to be the case. But you can see it. They're free attacking mids, all finding space. Our centre mids just here, there and everywhere. Completely out of position. It's like they've gone on a pub crawl and they've all lost one another within the various bars. And what's happened there is a sucker punch has been blown on the goalkeeper, Kouakou, who cannot do anything to stop it. Anyway, 20 minutes left. We'll make a few changes. Michal already booked. No point in risking him. I'm also going to bring on Jeff Fatita, who's not had the best game of his career. So I am, yes, risking it again with the triple sub. Hopefully we won't get an injury this time. Only 20 minutes left if it was to happen, but we are in a lot more comfortable position than perhaps we were against Man City, who coincidentally are currently losing 3-0 to Arsenal, a team who started very well, although they instantly get a goal back, and there we go, the time is done. I've now talked for 100 minutes for episode 100 at least. That felt like I was right at the seaside. For a second I thought my phone was ringing. Might have to make that my ringtone, that was catchy. So I guess we won't do the West Ham game, unfortunately, boys, just because my voice is starting to go. I wouldn't normally talk for this long continuously. Speaking of which, Everton have just made it 3-2, and now it's squeaky bum time. I want to end this episode on a high. I kind of dismissed Everton's chances after the first half, but they've stepped up in this second half, and we are not looking too great. Let's just change something very minor. Actually, that's not going to work because I took off Mihal. Well, I've just done goofed, is what I've done. I guess we'll just stick with what we have then. I might change China to a deep line playmaker set to support instead of box to box, just to help us cover defensively a little bit more. Pedrera is actually dead on the pitch with 49% condition. Unfortunately, I haven't got a sub to take him off. And now Everton on the attack again. If this happens, I might cry, although we have a chance to break here. Matthew Lewis with 3 goals to his name already. We have men up in large masses, and Lewis scores. Don't think that's going to be given offside. It's not. It's 4 for the season for Matthew Lewis. I don't know why I'm doing this. I just want to get a bit emotional. But that's a great result. That's going to wrap things up, I think, for this game. 4-2. 4 goals for Matthew Lewis. He's scoring for fun. Everton committing lots of men forward to desperately chase that goal that they needed to draw things all level. And in the end, we've just been too much for them. And there might even be time for more. Could he get 5? That would be crazy. Go on, Martinez. Whipping the ball. He whips it in. Lewis is there. It's cleared away. China with a weird ball. Can't actually pick out a man. We go again. We build it from the back, and now Pedrera gives it to them. I bet Everton score just to make this a little bit more squeaky bum time and to make me feel even more stupid about saying the game was over at 4-2. Lamb to Reed. Back to Lamb. Can he whip in a ball of quality? He can, and Brown scores, and oh gosh, I'm having a meltdown. Isaiah Brown is just scoring for fun against us right now. I'm going to skip the highlight. I don't want to relive it. Just kill the clock, boys. There's 3 minutes left of added time. Oh, there's a minute and a half left. This could still happen. Oh, if we could score, great. On what are we doing? What are we doing, boys? No, stop this. Stop this, Everton. Saved Kouakou. He saved us. Kouakou, you legend. The Ivory Coast man just stands tall in goal and says, no, not today. I say this and now Everton are still on the attack. Lewis with a tackle. He's getting back and doing a defensive duty now, the captain of the team. 20 seconds left for us to survive. Can we hold on for this? Ball is pumped up to Jeff. Just run, Jeff. Run. That'll do. That'll do. That's got to be time. Brown is offside. That will do, boys. 4-3. Not convincing, considering how good the first half was. But we've made it. We've done it. And we've lasted 100 minutes during this live com, which I'm surprised at, because my voice, if you can't tell, is actually starting to go now. Matthew Lewis's 83rd minute goal, the difference there. What a man. What a man. If we just take a quick look at the league table so you guys can see what's happening. We are in 4th after 5 games with 4 wins and 1 defeat. The only defeat coming against Man City. In terms of assists, China and Tita right up there in the table with 4 and 5 each. Matthew Lewis with 12 goals so far in 5 games, which is just ridiculous. For the season, he has 18, which I don't really know what to say other than someone's got to test him for steroids or something, because that's crazy. But yeah, that's going to wrap things up for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed episode 100. Very different with the Facecam and stuff. Hopefully it didn't block off anything of too much significance. Just again, a massive thank you for your support on this series. Sorry if I didn't answer your question as part of the Q&A on my laptop. I'm probably going to do a Q&A or something like that for 30,000 subscribers. I mentioned a few other ideas I had earlier on in the video. If you have enjoyed this video, if you could smash the like button. If we could hit 1,000 likes for episode 100, that would be incredible. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Let me know what you make of the face cam. I don't know if I'll make it a regular thing, but it's here. It's a possibility now at least. And yeah, that's everything. So other than me, thank you so much for watching. If you've got any comments, leave them down below. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.